Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. China has struck again, precisely hitting the key links of Western manufacturing, and announced export controls on antimony and superhard materials. This action is another important move by China in the field of cutting-edge materials, after restrictions on gallium and germanium last year. In mid-August, the Ministry of Commerce took strong measures and announced strict control of the export of dual-use antimony and superhard materials, and the relevant policies will officially take effect on September 15. By then, it will be difficult for Western countries to easily purchase these materials from China. So why are the United States and Western countries so eager for antimony? As early as 2020, the European Union listed antimony as one of the most scarce metals, and the United Kingdom, after Brexit, also placed antimony in the second most important position. The United States paid more attention to antimony earlier. In 2018, the United States issued the List of Critical Minerals, which stipulates that domestic antimony mines can only be explored and mining is prohibited. How scarce are the global antimony resources? Although China's antimony reserves account for the majority of the world's total, the proven reserves are only more than 600,000 tons. The reason why the United States banned the mining of antimony is that its proven reserves are only a pitiful 6 tons. Take last year as an example. China, as the country with the largest antimony reserves in the world, produced a total of 40,000 tons of antimony, accounting for nearly half of the world's total production, and controlled half of the global antimony supply. 60% of the United States antimony imports rely on China, which shows its high dependence on China's antimony resources. Looking back to 2011, China experienced excessive mining of antimony ore, when the export price was low and the output once accounted for 80% of the world. Although China's antimony ore production has now dropped to 50% of the global level, we still have the core technology for antimony ore processing and extraction, and 80% of the world's antimony ore relies on China's processing. Antimony is an extremely scarce metal material. When Western countries produce photovoltaics, chips and military equipment, they can basically only import it from a few countries such as China, Russia, Tajikistan and Turkey. This time, China's export control on antimony is very comprehensive, almost blocking the way for foreign countries to obtain antimony resources from China. Not only the raw ore of antimony is restricted, but also antimony oxides and antimony hydrides used in semiconductors, as well as compounds such as flame retardants used in displays and military equipment are within the scope of restrictions. Some people may think that restricting the export of only one material will have little impact on Europe and the United States. So how big is the impact of China's restriction on antimony exports on Europe and the United States? It is worth noting that the Ministry of Commerce has tightened exports not only for antimony, but also for superhard materials. Literally, the hardness of antimony makes it suitable for display manufacturing, and its flame retardant properties make it widely used in flame retardants. Looking deeper, antimony is more used in compounds, such as indium antimonide, which can improve the electron mobility within the chip. Chip foundries such as TSMC cannot do without it when processing chips. Therefore, China's restriction on antimony exports can be regarded as a powerful countermeasure to the chip blockade alliance formed by the United States, the Netherlands and Japan. In addition, antimony compounds are highly sensitive to infrared light, and are widely used in infrared detectors, thermal imagers, and various photoelectric detection devices. Application of antimony in thin-film transistors. Thin-film transistors in LCDs and OLEDs are also made of antimony-based materials, and they are also indispensable in the field of high-end home appliances. According to statistics from Project Blue, an international authority, the global shortage of antimony has become increasingly serious in the past few years since the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. As of May 2024, the global shortage of antimony has reached 10,000 tons and is expected to increase to 21,000 tons by 2026. There are two main reasons. First, Western sanctions against Russia have led to a sharp drop in its antimony production and exports. In fact, before China introduced regulatory measures, we had gradually reduced overseas orders, so the main importers of antimony could only turn to small antimony-producing countries such as Vietnam and Tajikistan. Second, the global military industry's demand for antimony has gradually increased. Antimony added to metals can not only enhance hardness, but also have high temperature resistance and wear resistance. For example, adding a small amount of antimony to the shell of ammunition can extend its shelf life. In addition, antimony's infrared light sensitivity makes it a key material for missile infrared guidance systems, and night vision devices and other equipment also need antimony. Finally, firefighting suits and fire-resistant special combat uniforms also need to add antimony as a flame retardant. Therefore, China's control over the export of antimony and super-hard materials has indirectly curbed the development of the Western military industry. The infrared focal plane array used in the optoelectronic distributed aperture system carried by the US F-35 fighter uses indium antimonide. Although the United States also has other alternatives to infrared focal plane materials, the effect is not as good as indium antimonide. As the owner of the world's largest military-industrial complex, the United States' own antimony reserves are not high. In addition, it has its own industrial hollowing out problem. The mining technology of antimony mines is not mature and the cost is high. Antimony mines are not as abundant as gallium, which was restricted from export last year. Even if Western countries have technological breakthroughs in the extraction and secondary recycling of gallium, they may be able to partially make up for the shortage caused by China's control. But the mining of antimony mines still depends on resource reserves. No matter how good the technology is, it will be useless without reserves. In fact, the United States realized the seriousness of the antimony dependence problem as early as after China implemented antimony export controls. Therefore, the U.S. Department of Defense has restarted an antimony mine project in Idaho earlier, but it is expected to start producing antimony after 2028. Not only does the United States have a huge demand for antimony, but South Korea is also highly dependent on Chinese antimony. South Korea's lead-acid batteries, LEDs, OLED display panels and other industries all need antimony materials supplied by China. Last year, South Korea purchased antimony worth $60 million from around the world, of which more than 70% was imported from China. If China further tightens antimony exports, South Korea may also face a tight supply situation. By the way, the purpose of our restriction on the export of super-hard materials is not only aimed at the EU or the United States, but also includes those countries that compete with China in the field of artificial diamonds, such as India. Super-hard materials are key production materials for artificial diamonds and cubic boron nitride, and China accounts for 95% and 80% of the global production of these two, respectively. The policy of restricting exports this time is to control the outflow of related materials, equipment and technology. In general, our export control on antimony this year is based on the effectiveness of the export control of gallium and germanium last year, and on the other hand, it is also our established strategy for the control of scarce high-end manufacturing materials. The mining and smelting of key materials and scarce metals have long been abandoned by European and American countries, and countries with incomplete industrial bases find it difficult to undertake such industries. Therefore, such production naturally falls on China's shoulders. Europe and the United States put pressure on China in the field of high-end chips and technology, trying to curb China's development through their advantages in the high-tech field. We use the low-end smelting industry to check and balance the material supply of Europe and the United States. This actually takes advantage of the law that capital industry is unwilling to enter low-profit and difficult industries.